Hello there, sports gamers. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Brandon Satterwhite, and today I'm going to be talking about what I feel are some of the most interesting teams to use in franchise mode in MLB The Show 22. If you enjoy the video, please make sure to leave it a like and also consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell so you never miss when we put out a video. Let's get into it.
Sports Gamers Online is the #1 source for the sports gamer.
So when it comes to franchise mode, there's basically three types of teams in my view. There's the rebuilding teams, the teams that really have nothing at all, bottom of the league. You know, you're still trying to acquire some young talent, build back from basically nothing. You know, it's going to be a long process. Then there's the second tier where you're just trying to get over the top. You know, you're good enough to compete for the playoffs, maybe even make the playoffs consistently, but you're not quite there where you're getting to the championship and World Series every year. So you really need to find like one or two more pieces to kind of get you over the hump. And then the third tier is the contenders. These are the teams that are at the top of the league. They have all sorts of talent. And really, instead of trying to acquire talent, your goal is just to continue the dynasty for as long as possible. Keep that championship window open for as long as possible. Managing the budget, determining when to move on from big name players to get off of the big contracts so you can bring in new talent. And just trying to really manage your dynasty as long as possible. So those are the three types of teams that we're going to look at. I have a few examples for each, and we're going to start with the rebuilding teams. And the first rebuilding team that I think is very interesting to use in MLB 22 is the Baltimore Orioles, one of the worst teams in MLB right now, but with some very interesting pieces. So last year, Cedric Mullins had a breakout year. He had 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, so he joined the 30-30 club, becoming the first Baltimore Orioles player to ever join the 30-30 club. He hit .291, 59 RBIs, great player, under team control through 2025, so you're going to have him throughout the majority of his prime. He's going to be like 30 years old when you lose team control of him. So you've got quite a few years of Cedric Mullins. Speaking of players that had breakout years last year, John Means, though he only went 6-9, he had 134 strikeouts, a 3.62 ERA, and a 1.03 WHIP. He has really shown himself to be the ace of this Orioles team, a really great piece for the pitching staff here. Has a couple of years of team control left, a great lefty starter for you. And then also you have Ryan Mountcastle and Trey Mancini at first base. You could probably move one of these guys into the outfield as both have the ability to play there, and Mountcastle could also play third for you if you wanted. But you've a couple of great power bats that can really mash home runs for you. And then the best prospect on the team, Adley Rutschman, 24 years old, only a 74 overall. I expect that to go up throughout the year as he gets better with an A potential. You could probably get away with bumping up some of those stats a little bit for him just because he is so good and he's already on the Orioles roster in real life. But really, your main goal here is going to be developing the bevy of prospects that the Orioles do have. Grayson Rodriguez at starting pitcher. You really do need to find some other starting pitchers to fill out the rotation behind John Means. You don't really have much of a bullpen at all, honestly. So you're going to have to work on that. And then developing Adley, developing Mountcastle, and then basically just filling out the rest of this team. Because really, outside of Means, Mullins, and Rutschman, there really isn't a whole lot here. And if you look at the budget here, there is no players under contract after the first season. Everyone is either a free agent or they have arbitration or renewable contracts. So this is probably the best team if you want to take a franchise and basically reshape them in your own image, completely building from the ground up, because you can choose to let go of basically anybody at this point. So this is a really interesting team if you're wanting a long-haul rebuild in MLB 22. The next team in the rebuilding category that I think is really interesting are the Kansas City Royals. Now, they won a World Series not that long ago, but they have fallen quite a ways. But they do have a lot of promising pieces. Salvador Perez had a career year last year, hitting 48 home runs, which led the American League, played in 161 games, 121 RBIs, had a 6.3 WAR, which is more than double his next highest in his career. Really proved himself to be one of the best hitting catchers in all of MLB. Also has a pretty good arm behind the plate, so not bad defensively either. Can also move him to first base if you want to, if you end up getting another catcher that you want to put behind the plate. Zach Greinke, at 38 years old, has made his return to Kansas City, where his career started almost 2 decades ago now, really. So you'll be able to use him as he tries to finish out his legendary career. Whit Merrifield, you know, a good hitter, amazing speed on the bases, 40 stolen bases last year, which led the league. Can also play outfield, first and third base. You can basically put him wherever you want to put him. He's that diverse, great type of player to have on your team. Adalberto Mondesi, a great young player. He's going to develop a lot. Only 26 years old, has another year of team control before you have to give him a long-term extension. Andrew Benintendi, as a alum of the University of Arkansas, I'm a big Benintendi fan. He played for us a while ago during his college ball, had a great bounce back year, hit 276, 17 home runs, 73 RBIs, great all-around player. Not really, he's not going to hit a whole bunch of home runs, he's not going to hit for, 300, but he's that good, solid, consistent piece for you. And then the big prospect for the Royals, the #1 prospect in all of baseball according to MLB Pipeline, Bobby Witt Jr., 21 years old, a 74 overall with A potential. He's already on the Royals in real life, so you could probably go ahead and bump up his hitting stats a little bit and put him on your MLB team here. The main need for the Royals is pitching. You really don't have much after your first 2 pitchers, maybe 3. Brad Keller could still develop at only 26 years old and a B potential. Brady Singer's going to develop more, 25 years old, A potential. Had a rough year in 2021, but he's young, he's going to keep getting better. But yeah, definitely need to bring some more starters up, and then your bullpen is just absolute garbage here, so you're going to have to figure that out. But in terms of position players, you're not that bad. Carlos Santana's aging, you're going to need to find a first baseman. But after that, really, the rest of the team is pretty well filled out. Might need another outfielder. But honestly, this team isn't that bad. And again, only 3 players are under contract after the first year. There's Perez, who just signed his big extension, which at only $20 million a year, that's not that bad for a guy that could put up possibly 40 home runs a year. Hunter Dozier out in right field, got the extension after 2019. He hit 26 home runs that year. Hasn't really bounced back. Hopefully he can find it. If not, you're only paying him $6 million. Might be able to trade that contract away. And then Michael Taylor, your starting center fielder, $4.5 million. After that, everyone else is either free agent or arbitration or renewable contracts. So another team that you can really kind of shape in your own image if you want to. And then the final team that we'll look at in the rebuilding category, our first National League team, is the Washington Nationals, who went on a bit of a fire sale at the end of last year, trading away Max Scherzer and Trey Turner to the Dodgers. But they still have quite a few good pieces. You have Juan Soto, who is one of the best young power hitters in all of baseball. Not just power hitters, but also just great hitters. I mean, he hit .313 last year, 29 home runs, 95 RBIs, less than 100 strikeouts, which for the modern game, you don't see that a whole lot, especially from these young hitters. They really, have those high strikeout. You think of Judge or Stanton or someone like that who has 200 plus strikeouts. Soto's not going to strike out a whole lot. He plays really good defense. He's got good power, good vision. He is someone that you're going to want to build your team around, and you are going to have to give him a contract extension after the 2024 season, but he's going to be worth it, trust me. And then you also have Strasburg here, still on a big deal throughout 2026 at $35 million a year. He's already 33 years old. He's probably going to start regressing at some point, but he's a good ace to start out with. The Nationals also went out and got Nelson Cruz, who at 41 years old, I mean, look at those power numbers. The dude can still mash. Hit 32 home runs last year in 140 games. He can still do it. Getting up there in age, probably going to regress quite a bit after the first year, but he's only on a 1-year deal, so you'll be able to decide what you want to do with him after that. Josh Bell, one of my favorite players in all of baseball, the switch-hitting power hitter, hit 27 home runs for the Nationals last year. He's going to be a solid piece for you there at first base. But then after that, you really don't have a whole lot. Patrick Corbin is here. He's one of only 2 players on this team. Him and Strasburg are the only 2 that are signed through the first year, so they are the only ones that will be for sure coming back for the second year if you use this team in franchise. Everyone else, again, is either free agents or on expiring contracts. But after Strasburg and Corbin, again, you don't really have a whole lot on the pitching staff. Your bullpen could definitely use some help. You don't have a true closer at all. You need to figure out what to do at catcher. First base, I think Josh Bell can lock that down. And then you really need to figure out what you're going to do on the left side of your infield and try to fill out that outfield outside of just Juan Soto. So a lot of stuff to do with these teams, a lot of decisions to make, but the opportunity to really shape a team in your image with these 3 rebuilding teams. And now we get to the second tier, which is the get them over the top tier. This is the ones where you're just trying to find that one last piece to sort of make that title run, launch them into that top echelon of teams in the league. And the first one that we're going to go over is my favorite team in the league, the New York Yankees. Now, some of you might be saying, well, the Yankees don't really, need to get over the top. They're already contenders. I disagree. I think some of the moves they made, they lost Gary Sanchez, which I think is actually a good move for us, so getting back Josh Donaldson and IKF. But letting go of Luke Voigt, our guys are getting older. And let's just take a look at the roster. So you still have Aaron Judge, who hit 39 home runs last year, still one of the best hitters in all of baseball, but he is a free agent after this year. There is no team control left on Judge after the first season. And in real life, Judge has turned down a very large contract extension from the Yankees, so it looks like he's probably going to be moving on from the Yankees after this year. So you're going to have to decide, do you want to try to bring him back? You're going to be paying close to $35 million a year for him if you do. So do you want to try to do that for Judge, or do you maybe wait to see if some other big pieces like maybe an Ohtani or maybe even further down the road a Guerrero or Tatis come available in free agency to give them that money? Because Judge already is 29 years old at this point. You also have Garrett Cole, who at 31 years old is going to be getting $36 million a year through 2028. That is a huge contract. He's getting more money individually than some teams are paying for their entire payroll. He's still great, put up a 3.23 ERA with 243 strikeouts last year, but he's 31. He's going to start regressing soon. Then you also have Gallo, who you're going to have to pay. He's a free agent after this year. Stanton still has his huge contract through 2027. At 32, he's about to start regressing hard. Donaldson, he's under contract for 2 more years. Let's just look at the budget overall here, and you'll see that you only have 5 guys under contract after the first year, but there's Aaron Hicks, who's only a 72 overall. That's not a good contract. DJ LeMahieu's about to regress hard at 82 overall and already 33 years old. He's still making $15 million a year. All of these guys are past their prime and starting to regress, and you're making big-time money. So you're going to have to find a way to get out from under those contracts, free up money so you can bring in more talent and possibly bring back some of this talent that's going to be leaving in either free agency or you're going to have to pay in arbitration. But one of the bright spots of this Yankee team that we really haven't seen that often from the Yankees is a large amount of very young talent. You have young pitchers like Luis Gil, Nestor Cortez, Davy Garcia, Clark Schmidt, all coming up through the farm system. You have Gleyber Torres here, who's only 25 years old. He's down to a 75 overall. I know he was in like the 80s when MLB 21 came out, but still with a B potential. He could still progress back to where he was a few years ago. You have some great shortstop prospects, Oswaldo Cabrera, Trey Sweeney, and Anthony Volpe. Wonderful prospects that you could either keep or trade for a piece that can help you win more immediately. And then you also have Jason Dominguez, killer speed, great arm. He's going to grow into be a great hitter. 19 years old, already a 72 overall with A potential. So a lot of young talent here that you can either, develop yourself or pull a Yankees move and bring in a big name on a big trade like that. It's all up to you. Next up on this list is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I mean, what can you say about this team that hasn't already been said? You have Mike Trout, arguably the greatest baseball player of all time. Definitely the greatest player of this generation. 99 overall, 30 years old, and he's been to the postseason once. I mean, this organization has wasted this unbelievable talent, and it's just despicable how awful this organization has been for so long. And so the goal here is to get Trout over the top, get him into the playoffs, and get him competing for championships like he should be. Now, to go alongside him, you have Shohei Ohtani, who really broke out last year, winning the AL MVP, hit 46 home runs, also had 158 strikeouts with a 3.18 ERA. He's 27 years old. He has 1 year of team control left, and then you're going to have to sign him to a big contract extension. But trust me, he's worth it. He has been fixed now in franchise mode, where his stats will better reflect his abilities as both a pitcher and a hitter. So you're not going to have to choose to put him as just one or the other. Anthony Rendon, 86 overall, still has this huge contract that's only going to increase in value as it goes on. So at some point, you're going to have to decide when he's no longer worth that and decide when you want to trade him away. But there is quite a bit of this core is under contract or has arbitration, such as Jared Walsh, who's still a really good hitter, hit 29 home runs last year. Patrick Sandoval, a good young pitcher, has several years of team control left. The main need for this team is going to be pitching. You have a pretty good starting rotation, maybe need one more good piece to add to the back half of that. But then you really need a lot more help in the bullpen. You have Iglesias, Tepera, and Luke, but outside of that, not great in the bullpen. And the other thing you really need is you need to fill out this outfield. Justin Upton, he's making $21 million this year, but that contract will come off the books this year. So you're going to have to figure out what you want to do. Joe Adele is coming up through the minors. He's a very highly touted prospect. He's playing in the big leagues right now in real life, along with Brandon Marsh. So those are some young players that you could develop and put in the outfield alongside Trout. And then the final team in this category is the San Diego Padres. Now, you may be wondering, wait, the Padres are a really good team. Why are they in this category? They had an epic collapse last year. And I think outside of the 2020 COVID shortened season, if you take that one out of the equation, they haven't made the playoffs in like, what, 9-10 years, I think? So they are desperately needing to get over the hump, get back into the playoff mix in a very competitive division with the Dodgers and Giants out there. And they have the talent to do it. You have Manny Machado, who's still one of the best third basemen in all of baseball, hit 28 home runs last year, 278 average. And then Fernando Tatis Jr., who's become one of the young faces of the league. I mean, he's got speed, he's got contact, he's got power. Not the best fielder, but you could move him into the outfield at left field, where the Padres do have a bit of a hole right now. And I think that is a great option for him. He has a 99 arm strength. His accuracy is a bit off, but if you put him in left field, I think he's going to be okay, especially with that 90 speed out there. And he's going to hit a whole bunch of home runs for you. Cronenworth came onto the scene last year, hit 21 home runs, Rookie of the Year. Clevenger, Darvish, Musgrove, and Snell make up a great starting rotation for you. Really, the only thing you need is to improve the outfield. Trent Grisham, your highest rated outfielder, at an 80 overall. You have Will Myers out here at 77 overall. He's a free agent after this year. So, again, I would recommend moving Tatis to left field and then letting Hae-Sung Kim, who's a much better fielder, play shortstop. You're going to have a lot less errors there, in my opinion. And last but not least, we come to the contenders category. Again, these are the teams that are at the top of the league. When you use these teams in franchise, you're going to be expecting to win a World Series year one and trying to continue that success as long as possible. And the first team we're looking at in this category is the Toronto Blue Jays. And the thing about this team that makes it so exciting is even though you do have this large amount of talent, most of it's pretty young. Vlad Guerrero Jr., only 23 years old. Bo Bichette at 24. Matt Chapman, who came over in the trade with the A's, is 28. Gurriel, also 28. Alex Manoah, 24. Oscar Hernandez, 29. So a lot of good young talent that should be able to build a good core for multiple championship runs in the future. And when you look at the budget for them, there really aren't any bad contracts. George Springer at 32 years old, making $25 million a year through 2026, might be the only one, but I mean, he's still really good. He's probably not going to regress nearly as quickly as some of the other players. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is under team control through 2025. Bichette, the same. Manoah is under team control for several more years. Gurriel has team control through 24. Chapman has a 2-year deal still. So most of your top players are either on long-term deals or under team control through arbitration through at least 2025. So that gives you 4 seasons with this great core to really make some noise and try to put together a dynasty. The second team in this category, I had to put them here, the defending World Series champions, the Atlanta Braves. I mean, you've got Ronald Acuna Jr., 99 overall, 24 years old, coming off that injury. Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson coming over from the A's as Freddie Freeman moves on to the Dodgers. And then some really good pitching. Probably the best pitching staff in any team in the game, with Kirby Yates, Kenley Jansen, a great bullpen, great starters across the board. There's really no weakness anywhere on this team, honestly. And if you look at the contracts for this team, most of them are pretty good contracts. Acuna signed through 2026, not making more than $16 million a year. I mean, that is, for one of the best players, I mean, 99 overall, the highest rating you can have in the game, to be making, you know, less than $16 million a year through 2026 for the first 5 years of your franchise. That's an absolute steal. You can go out and use that money on someone else. Ozzie Albies making less than $6 million a year for the first 4 years. Matt Olson, for a 90 overall, a guy that can hit, you know, 30-plus home runs, one of the best first basemen in the whole game. $21 million is not that much, and you're going to have him basically the rest of his entire career. Charlie Morton, you know, he's probably going to be retiring. He's 38 after this year. $20 million, that'll come off the books. Kirby Yates, 2-year deal, very little money. I mean, there's not a whole lot of big-time contracts here. Kenley Jansen, $16 million a year. That'll come off the books after the first year. Will Smith's contract, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall are all free agents, so those will come off the books. If you don't want to bring them back, you can use that money on someone else. But the majority of this core is on very low contracts, team control, so you have an opportunity to really turn what was a magical run last year to the World Series into an Atlanta Braves dynasty that will be talked about forever in baseball. And then last but certainly not least, I mean, this Dodgers team, absolutely huge payroll, completely stacked at every single position. I mean, look at the pitchers. You have 4 starting pitchers that are 90 plus overall. Your bullpen could use a little bit of work here, but I mean, it's certainly not bad. You have Blake Treinen, who's a great closer. Will Smith slapping the ball all over the place like he's at the Oscars, 90 overall. Freddie Freeman coming over from the Braves. Max Muncy, who is a free agent after the first year, so you are going to have to find a way to bring him back if you want him. But I mean, just completely stacked at every single position. But the big thing about this Dodgers team is that, unlike the other 2 that we saw in this category, this one is not set up for long-term success. It's set up for immediate, this year only success. Trey Turner, Clayton Kershaw, Max Muncy, all free agents after the first year. Blake Treinen, Justin Turner, Danny Duffy, Shane Green, Jimmy Nelson, all free agents after 2022. So you're going to have to find a way to get some money to either bring some of these guys back or bring in people to replace them. Because, I mean, Freddie Freeman's making $20 million a year, which isn't terrible. Mookie's making 30. Trevor Bauer, who may or may not even pitch in real life, making 31 mil. Chris Taylor making 15. And you only have 5 guys that are actually under contract after the first year. Everyone else is either free agents or arbitration. So this team kind of set up more like we saw from the rebuilding or getting over the top teams where you don't have guys on long-term deals, because it seems like their window seems to be closing a little bit. So you're going to have to find a way to free up some money to get more talent in here in order to extend that window as much as possible. Of the contending teams we've looked at, this one, after the first year, might actually be the hardest to maintain their winning ways. So that's going to do it for this video, y'all. If you enjoyed it, again, please make sure to leave it a like. Also, subscribe to Sports Gamers Online and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, consider checking out our website, sportsgamersonline.com, for all news and updates regarding sports gaming. You can also follow us on Twitter and join our Discord with the links down in the description of the video. Until next time, y'all, I'm Brandon Satterwhite with SGO. Thank you for watching.